Okay, so here we have this ornately covered green book. It's part of the St. Nicholas series for boys and girls. You can see these wreaths on the top here with sections sort of floating out and about there on the cover. There's a darker green and a red, and the story is called Ocean Waifs, and it's by an author with the last name Reed, and it was published by the International Book Company. And you can see this really nice green color all around. There's no gilding on the edge of the pages there. It's all pretty well intact. So I'm going to open it up here. I'm going to take a look at the title page. So here it is with a frontispiece engraving facing it. The title page says The Ocean Waifs, A Story of Adventure on Land and Sea by Captain Mayne Reid, author of The Desert Home, The Boy Hunters, etc., with illustrations. A new edition with a memoir by R.H. Stoddard, published in New York. And then here is the frontispiece, showing two persons on a raft there, with a flying fish jumping over them, it looks like. You can see it's by Kilburn and Mallory. So there's a few engravings in here. This is the copyright page, and there's a few copyrights in here. Most recent is from 1889, so still very old. And then this is the table of contents. We've got all of the chapters listed here, and we can see there's quite a lot. The Albatross, Ship on Fire, The Lord's Prayer, Hunger, Despair, Faith, Hope, Flying Fish, and it goes on and on and on with all these different scenes. There's one here at the bottom that's called Overboard. There's a lot of chapters in here, so we can just take a quick look at these. There's one here that says A Madman in Mid-Ocean, The Insane Swimmer. So this is just sort of a series of adventure tales. So here's the opening chapter, The Albatross. The vulture of the sea, borne upon broad wing, and wandering over the wide Atlantic, suddenly suspends his flight to look down upon an object that has attracted his attention. It is a raft with a disc not much larger than a dining table, constructed out of two small spars of a ship, the Dolphin Striker and Spritsail Yard, with two broad planks and some narrower ones lashed crosswise, and over all 2 or 3 pieces of sailcloth carelessly spread. Slight as is the structure, it is occupied by 2 individuals, a man and a boy. The latter is lying along the folds of the sailcloth, apparently asleep. The man stands erect, with his hand to his forehead, shading the sun from his eyes, and scanning the surface of the sea with inquiring glances. So that's just the start of chapter 1 there, and these chapters are pretty short. This St. Nicholas series was for children mostly, and it was part of a larger sort of enterprise that was started as the St. Nicholas magazine, I believe, in 1873, I think is the year that started. And a lot of different famous authors were published in that magazine, I think including Mark Twain. Here's another engraving. We've got, here there's a man with an axe and a man with a larger spear. It looks like they're getting attacked by these 2 sharks here, and their ship is sinking under the water, or their raft. So let's see what we can read about that here. It says, Ben and the boy had dropped their hooks and lines, the former instinctively arming himself with the axe, while the latter seized upon the spare handspike. Both stood ready to receive the second charge of the enemy. It was made almost on the instant. The shark that had just attacked was the first to return, and coming on with the velocity of an arrow, it sprang clear above the surface, projecting its hideous jaws over the edge of the raft. For a moment the frail structure was in danger of being either capsized or swamped altogether, and then the fate of its occupants would undoubtedly have been to become food for the sharks. Let's take a look at that again, just now that we've read that. And so I'm just going to sort of flip through here, try to find other notable areas that we can take a look at. The illustrations are somewhat hard to find in here, and I think that's just because they're printed on the same style paper. So in a lot of other books, the illustrations, just due to how they print the ink, they'll put them on a different quality of paper, and those will kind of stand out when you're thumbing through, so you can easily locate them. It says, "We've got to die." As the sailor gave utterance to these words of fearful import, he started from his recumbent position, and half erect upon the raft, remained listening, at the same time endeavoring with his glance to pierce the darkness that shrouded the surface of the deep. Little William, terrified by the speech of his protector, made no rejoinder, but with like silence continued to look and listen. There was nothing visible save sea and sky, and these in the dim obscurity were not to be distinguished from each other. So that's just the random start of another chapter in here. So I'm going to keep looking through, trying to thumb through to see if I can locate where those illustrations are. And one other way to figure out where those are is to look for a blank page, since the blank, or the reverse side of the engraving typically is blank. Oh, we just thumbed by one there. So here's another one towards the end of the book. This one shows 3 different persons on a raft. They're pointing out towards another ship that seems to be on fire. Oh, it looks like there's 4 persons, sorry. And let's see, from the note here, it says, "There was a flame far lighting up the somber surface of the ocean that shone upon the sleepy catamarans. Gleaming in the half-closed eye of the sailor lad, it awoke him. Starting up, he beheld an apparition which caused him surprise, not unmingled with alarm. It was a ship beyond doubt, or the semblance of one, but such as the sailor lad had never seen before. She appeared to be on fire. Vast clouds of smoke were rising up from her decks and rolling away over her stern, illuminated by columns of bright flame that jetted up forward of her foremast, almost to the height of her lower shrouds. No man unaccustomed to such a sight could have looked upon that ship without supposing that she was on fire." Little William should have been able to judge of what he saw. Unfortunately for himself, the spectacle of a ship on fire was not new to him. He had witnessed the burning of the bark which had borne him into the middle of the Atlantic, and left him where he was now, in a position of extremest peril. And there's that engraving again. You can see the signature in the bottom right, too. So I think we, so this is the end of the book here. I'm just going to sort of show you the last few pages there. So there you can see it says "the end." The printing on the end is pretty smudged. But I think we missed a few engravings in here, so I'm going to go back and try to locate those now, just so we can take a look at those too. So what I'm trying to find here is just the a blank page where I can locate one of those. So I just passed one there. And here's a separate illustration, a different engraving, and it shows a whole crowd of men gathered around here with 2 men about to fight each other. They're both holding knives, it looks like. It looks like they're also on a sort of makeshift raft. Let's read what it says. So this chapter is called "A Duel to the Death." It says, "The strange ceremonial upon the raft, hitherto carried on with some show of solemnity, had reached an unexpected crisis. A second appeal to the goddess of fortune was no longer thought of. The deadly antagonism of the 2 chief castaways, Le Gros and O'Gorman, promised a result likely to supply the leader of that cannibal crew without the necessity of their having recourse to her decrees. One or other, perhaps both, of these men must soon cease to live, for the determined attitude of each told, beyond mistaking, that his bared blade would not be again sheathed except in the flesh of his adversary. There was no attempt at intervention. Not one of their comrades imposed to keep them apart. There was friendly feeling, or, to use a more appropriate phrase, partisanship, on the side of each, but it was of that character which usually exists among the brutal backers of 2 champions of the ring." So there's that engraving again. "A duel to the death." And then apparently the crew was a cannibal crew as well. So let's try to find another one here. I think this is that's the first one we saw. There's got to be one in between these 2. Let's take a look. Might be easier to find it this way. Oh, there was one. Let's go back there and take a look at that one. So here we have another engraving. This one shows 4 persons on a raft with a shark in the background, it looks like. So we can see that fin there. And this woman is jumping off. There's a man standing, man looking through that crate, and then there's a man lying down there. So this is a St. Nicholas series for boys and girls, Ocean Waifs. by Captain Maine Reed. Yep, and it's got the silver lettering on the front there. If you like the video, feel free to leave us a like or a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching. All right, bye.